Alright, let's be honest. You see her. She's across the room, at the coffee shop, maybe even in your DMs. You work up the courage, you make your approach, the first few lines go, okay, and then it hits you. That deafening, awkward, soul-crushing silence. Your mind goes completely blank. It's like your brain just hit the eject button and left you stranded on a conversational desert island. The only thing you can hear is the frantic sound of crickets chirping in the vast emptiness of your mind. You start sweating, she starts looking for an escape route, and the moment is gone. Poof, vanished. Sound familiar? Of course it does. We've all been there. But what if I told you that you could permanently delete that awkward silence file from your brain? What if you could become the kind of guy who can effortlessly spin a conversation into something captivating, something that makes her lean in, laugh, and forget anyone else is even in the room? That's not some superpower reserved for Hollywood heartthrobs. It's a skill. And today, I'm going to be the big brother you wish you had and teach you exactly how to master it. So grab a notebook, ditch the distractions, because we're about to rewire your brain so you never, ever run out of things to say to a woman again. Let's get into it. The first mistake most guys make is thinking they need to have a list of topics to talk about. They treat conversation like a job interview. So, what do you do? Where are you from? Do you like stuff? It's boring, it's predictable, and it puts all the pressure on you to be some kind of performing monkey. Forget that. The secret isn't about having a list of things to say, it's about having a system for finding things to say. And the easiest way to start is by simply using your eyes. I call this being a curious detective. Instead of walking up with a pre-planned, cheesy pickup line, you're going to make an observation. It sounds simple, but it's incredibly powerful because it's rooted in the present moment. It's authentic. Let's say you're in a bookstore. Instead of a generic, hey, you notice the book she's holding. You know it's brave picking up a 200-page fantasy novel. You're either incredibly dedicated or have a lot of free time on your hands. I'm guessing the former. Or maybe she has a unique tattoo. Your tattoo has a really interesting design. There's gotta be a good story behind that one. You see the shift? You're not asking a yes or no question. You're making a playful observation and ending it with a hook that invites a story. You're not just a guy hitting on her. You're a detective who's genuinely curious about the clues she's putting out there. Her clothes, her jewelry, her drink choice, the environment you're in. It's all ammunition. Think of yourself as Sherlock Holmes, but instead of solving crimes, you're solving the mystery of who she is. This immediately makes the conversation about her, which is everyone's favorite topic. It takes the pressure off you and puts the spotlight on her, making her feel seen and interesting right from the very first second. Once you've made that initial observation and she responds, you've successfully kicked the door open. But now you have to walk through it. This is where a lot of guys stumble again. They get a small piece of information and then immediately jump to another random interview question. She tells you the story behind her tattoo, and you go, cool. So do you have any siblings? Wrong. You're breaking the flow. This brings us to the next level of conversational mastery, emotional threading. Imagine the conversation isn't a straight line, but a web. Every piece of information she gives you has an emotional thread attached to it. Your job is to gently pull on that thread. She says, oh, I got this tattoo on a backpacking trip through Thailand. The average guy hears, Thailand. He might ask, oh, cool, what cities did you visit? It's logical, but it's boring. The master conversationalist hears, backpacking trip. That's the emotional core. Backpacking isn't just about places. It's about adventure, freedom, maybe a little bit of danger. So you pull on that thread. You could say, wow, a backpacking trip. That sounds like something out of a movie. Was it a spontaneous, I need to escape kind of trip? Or something you'd been planning for ages? Or, I bet you have some crazy stories from that. Don't tell me you ended up in one of those situations where you wake up and have no idea how you got there. You're not just asking about the logistics. You're digging for the feeling behind the experience. This is how you connect with someone. You stop talking about facts and start talking about feelings. When she talks about her stressful job as a nurse, don't just say, that sounds tough. Pull the thread. That must be incredibly rewarding, but also emotionally draining. What's the one patient story that's really stuck with you? You're inviting her to share a piece of her emotional world with you, and that is how you build a genuine connection that feels electric. Now, as you're pulling on these emotional threads, you're going to learn a lot about her. Her values, her passions, her sense of humor. This is the perfect time to introduce a little technique that feels like a Jedi mind trick. It's called cold reading. This isn't about being a psychic. It's about making educated, playful guesses about her based on the information she's given you. It shows you're not just hearing her words. You're actually listening and understanding the person behind them. Let's go back to the nurse. She's told you about how draining her job is, but also how rewarding it is. You could say, let me guess, you're the mom of your friend group, aren't you? The one everyone comes to for advice because they know you'll actually listen and not just try to fix everything. See what you did there? You took the clues, caring, empathetic, good listener, and you made a playful assumption about her personality. Now, here's the magic part. It doesn't even matter if you're 100% right. If you're right, she'll be amazed. Oh my God, how did you know? You've just created a huge moment of connection. If you're wrong, she'll correct you. Haha, not at all. I'm actually the chaotic one. And then she'll elaborate on what she's really like. It's a win-win. You're demonstrating that you're paying attention. And you're creating a fun, flirty dynamic where you're trying to figure each other out. It's a game, and it's way more engaging than a Q&A session. But conversation is a two-way street. You can't just be the detective and the mind reader. You also have to share parts of yourself. This is where so many guys mess up. They either share nothing and remain a mystery, or they overshare and dump all their baggage on the table. The key is what I call story stacking. You need to have a mental library of your own short, engaging stories. Not your life story, but little bite-sized anecdotes that reveal something about your personality. The key is to connect your stories to what she's talking about. It's like a conversational game of tennis. She hits the ball to you, and instead of just hitting it back, you add a little spin. She tells you about her chaotic backpacking trip. Once you've explored that thread, you can stack one of your own stories on top. That reminds me of this one time I got completely lost in the mountains in Colorado. My phone was dead, the sun was setting, and I was convinced I was going to befriend a bear and live out the rest of my days as a hermit. Turns out, I was only about 500 feet from the main road. A story like that accomplishes so much. It shows you're adventurous, you have a sense of humor, you don't take yourself too seriously, and it gives her more emotional threads to pull on. She can ask about Colorado, your fear of bears, or your terrible sense of direction. You're building a multi-dimensional picture of who you are, not through a list of facts, but through engaging narratives. Have 3 to 5 solid go-to stories ready. One that's funny, one that's adventurous, one that shows your ambitious side, and one that's a little vulnerable. Stack them when the moment is right, and you become a book she genuinely wants to read. So let's recap the system. You start with a curious detective observation. You pull on the emotional threads of her response. You use playful cold reads to show you're listening and to create a fun dynamic. And you use story stacking to share who you are in an engaging way. This isn't a script. It's a framework. It's a conversational operating system that, once installed, runs in the background. It frees you up to actually be present, to listen, and to connect. You stop worrying about what to say next, because the next thing is always right there, embedded in what she just said. You'll start to see conversations not as a scary void you need to fill, but as an exciting adventure you get to go on together. The fear of running out of things to say comes from a place of self-consciousness. You're worried you're not interesting enough. But with this system, the focus is never just on you. It's on the dynamic, the connection, the shared space you're creating between you. You become a facilitator of great conversation, not just a participant. So the next time you see that girl, don't panic. Don't run through a list of boring questions. Take a breath. Put on your detective hat. Look for a clue. And start the adventure. You've got this. If this helped, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe so you don't miss the next video, And drop a comment below, letting me know the biggest conversational mistake you used to make. I read all of them. Now get out there and start talking.